I've talked to you about working at Walt Disney World, but what about Disneyland? We've got to look at working inside Disneyland, and some of it's not safe for magic. I am really excited and blessed that I've got one of my viewers, a gentleman named Brian, who used to work at Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm with me today. We're going to do a Zoom call and talk about some of the things that he got to see, do, and experience at Disneyland and give you a little bit behind the scenes look here. And we cover all sorts of stuff from characters to foods to grad night to, well, you just have to watch and see. So I am really excited today. I've got a friend of mine, a viewer who's been watching for a while from the West Coast. He's actually starting a new channel called Brian's West Coast Disney Adventure. And he actually worked at Disneyland for quite a while doing some amazing things. So we're going to spend a little time talking to him, hearing some of his stories, and getting some really neat insight into the difference between Disneyland and Walt Disney World as far as working there. Brian, go ahead. Tell us what you did at Disneyland and when you were there.
When I was working at Disneyland, I started off in 2000 as a custodial busser, was basically working as a busser at the quick service restaurants. So restaurants like Village House or Tomorrowland Terrace or the little restaurants that are over in Toontown. So cleaning tables, sweeping the area, dumping the trash cans. Then when California Adventure opened up, they gave us the opportunity in foods to transfer over to California Adventure. You could stick around in Disneyland, and we ended up getting a status increase. When I started casual regular, when we got the opportunity to transfer or to stay, as our choice would be, got a status bump up to part-time, the B status, meaning benefits.
Right.
Yay!
Yeah, and for those who don't know, the way Disney classifies its employees, its cast members, unless you're management, you're considered a casual. And you've got casual seasonal, casual part-time, casual regulars full-time, generally. And then the B means you get benefits. No B, you don't get them. That's kind of the basic classifications that way. People who don't know our lingo.
Late 2001, early 2002, they closed the custodial busing department and gave us the opportunity transfer and keep our status into any division in foods.
Okay.
I chose to go to outdoor vending because that department would give me the most hours. Outdoor vending was it.
You can see my cat's insisting on being a part of this.
Oh, yes.
So how long were you in outdoor foods?
Outdoor vending, I was there from end of 2001 till June of 2003. I had a lot of fun in both departments, specifically with the characters.
So what did you get to do with the characters?
Oh, one of my favorite characters to play with is Pluto. The neat thing about Pluto is he gets to act like a dog, of course, right? I was coming back from my lunch over at the Plaza Inn, which is a cafeteria that's located just off of Main Street behind the Plaza Inn. The name of the restaurant there is the In Between. But there's a gate that's next. There's a gate next to the Plaza Inn where cast members can access backstage to get to the In Between. I was coming off from my lunch and I saw that Pluto was playing with some guests. Pluto came up to me with a pencil. I was like, okay, what's this for? As I'm holding this pencil, what's this for? He kind of backtracks, steps back, kind of backpedals a little bit. And then he's kind of giving me the signal like he wants to play fetch.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh, okay, you want to play fetch, don't you? And of course, Pluto nods.
Yep.
Got the big floppy.
Yeah, he's got a stick.
So what I did was I took the little pencil and I was like, all right, Pluto, ready? Go get it. And I went to toss it, but I held on to it and I kind of showed it to the guests that were around me. They were all laughing, and Pluto walked up to me, stomps up to me with his paw and goes, the whole. I'm like, okay, fine. So I took the little pencil, I just kind of tossed it to him, and he grabbed it and put it in his mouth. And that's why he's one of my favorite characters in the park.
going way back to when we still had Toontown at Walt Disney World, one of the things that we would do sometimes is we would actually keep a ball in the room where Pluto was meeting people. And if he
Play
had
fetch with the
time
ball.
in
Oh yeah.
between guests, Pluto would play with his ball.
Oh, yeah.
And it may be like soccer and chasing it around or tossing it in the air. And
The reaction that the guests get from seeing the characters play like that, even with other cast members, is just it's well worth it. It's well worth the extra couple seconds to take to do that.
It took them from being, because you have the people that are insistent that, oh, it's just a person in a costume. It really helps transform them into it's real.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There was a time when I was busing in Toontown. Over in Toontown, they have 3 restaurants. It's Pluto's Doghouse, Daisy's Diner, and Clarabelle's Frozen Yogurt.
Mm-hmm.
They have a group of tables out in the central area near the town hall and city hall where the characters would come out. I was sweeping around the area by the condiment cart, and Donald Duck came up to me. Donald Duck was signing to me. I had no idea what he was saying. And he's making these signs and doing like this. And
if he's doing this, that's a sign that I need help. But if you don't work with the characters, you don't realize that.
I know. I didn't work with the characters. I worked in foods. But when I saw that sign, I was like, okay, I don't understand. Come with me. I took him backstage. They can't talk when they're on stage. That's a big no-no. Backstage, she was able to tell me what had happened, that basically a couple of teenagers decided to be jerks, and one of them hauled off and decked her in the head.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I was floored because, number one, short girl, and I was like, she could have really gotten hurt. If you saw the kids, would you be able to identify them? She said, yeah. So I was like, okay, come with me. And I basically took her wing, and we walked out on stage. I walked around Toontown, did the whole kind of figure 8 circle around Toontown from where the restaurants were over to where Mickey's house is and Chippendale's tree house, and kind of walked all the way around, all the way over to Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin and back to the restaurants. And we went backstage. I asked her if she saw them. She didn't. But my lead was calling security at the time, and they talked to her backstage. Turned out they caught the kids.
Good.
But because she couldn't identify which one actually hit her, they couldn't do anything about it. So don't be a knucklehead and hit the characters. They're real people.
It was rare that I saw that, but it was so infuriating when you did. It was more common for us to see a character get knocked over when a child or somebody got excited and ran up for a hug. But yeah, the couple times I saw it, it was just.
I was floored that somebody would do that, because everybody that I met in characters was just absolutely amazing. They're the nicest people. So why would anybody want to do that?
They're fantastic. Honestly, in my 5 years and all the different characters I worked with, there was one. And we called her Two Shot, and I tell her story in a couple videos from way back. I probably ought to redo those. Two Shot was the only one we ever really had an issue with. All the other characters were fantastic.
I understand that the training for characters is intense.
Well, just to get qualified as a character, because they have to go through tryouts. They have to show that they can animate. They have to know the character's story, and then they have to practice doing it. And it's crazy.
I have another story about Pluto when I was working in outdoor vending. My cart that I loved was Goofy's Freeze in Toontown. Okay. That's basically like a little icy cart. It's kind of shaped like a motorhome. It was right in the middle of Toontown, and not many people wanted to work there because it was hot. Well, I like Toontown because I love the area. I love the music. Pretty much a big kid, Yeah. Oftentimes the characters would have meet and greets in the park right next to my little cart. For the chiller carts, we would sell those yards. Pluto was playing over in the park, and I had talked to the character host, and I was saying, hey, if you need to get Pluto in, back in, I can provide a way for him to get back in there. Grab one of the empty yards. Come here, Pluto, come here, and go like I'm giving him a bone, hand him the yard, and put the yard in his mouth, and he runs backstage. So he can go, bury the bone, right? And then the host would bring the yard back to me just so that I'm not losing any product. I would do that continuously with with Pluto when it wasn't that busy. Again, there's all kinds of little things that you can do to make working there that much more fun.
Oh yeah. And people have the idea sometimes that the only ones who work with the characters are like the character attendants or the photographers. One of the things I love with Disneyland is the characters still have a lot more freedom to roam around.
They
Walt
do.
Disney World, they've really gotten kind of boxed in a lot of ways. But even just walking back and forth from where they take photos, other people can jump in and play and goof off at Town Square up at Magic Kingdom. That was when the merchandise people, as the characters are walking in and out, hey, let's play with them a little bit.
One of my favorite things to do is the popcorn cart at the hub, which is where some of the characters would come out and they would have meet and greets at the hub. Well, I saw Pluto coming by and I was like, okay, reach into my little into my ice chest that would have the sodas, grab up some ice and call Pluto. Come here, Pluto, come on, boy. He would come up to me, grab the little handful of ice and reach into to his mouth and kind of pet his tongue and wet down his tongue a little bit. And then I say, all right, Pluto, go over and give that kid a big lick. And so now Pluto's got a wet tongue. And so he'd go over there and the kid would be like,
That's great. Love that.
But yeah, I mean, that was one of the things I loved. One of the little tricks I would love to do is with a little bit of ice and a big plastic tongue. Go for it.
Yep. Well, you mentioned the good. Now, of course, we know with every job, you've got the good and the bad.
Mm-hmm.
So what were some of the struggles or the bad things you had to deal with? You mentioned Donald Duck.
Yeah, that was really bad. Gradnight. You mentioned Gradnight in one of your videos before, and I can confirm that, yes, they are really that bad. But not always. Some of them can be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But I did have an incident where I was busing at Main Street, Refreshment Corner, also called Coke Corner. Over at the Magic Kingdom, it would be where Casey's is. The very first thing that we would do when we would get set up is we check all the trash cans, make sure they're double bagged, and we would make sure all the tables were cleaned up and make sure all the areas were cleaned up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is just as Gradnight was starting off. Not many people were in. People were still at the gates. I'm doing my initial trash can check, and over one of the trash cans off in one of the corners, when I pulled it out, I was like, wait a minute, there's something in here. And I took the liner out of the bullet. In the bottom of the liner was an empty bottle of Hennessy whiskey that one of the kids had snuck in. I'm like thinking to myself, how in the world did they get that in here?
I even thinking back to when I was in high school and did my own grad night. In fact, I talked about that recently in a video. We had a couple kids that snuck stuff and we were all like, how did you do that? Because Disney security is like extra tough at grad night, almost to the point of pat downs and everything. And I don't know how they managed to get it in.
Not everybody can be as polite as they should be,
right?
Which is sad.
There's a thing with teenagers, whether it's grad night, whether it's the night of joy or the Christian nights, that they see an opportunity to get to go to these parks and go unsupervised and go, I'm going to go do stuff I shouldn't do.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that myself. In my grad night, I was on Haunted Mansion. I'm thinking, okay, it's fun, yeah. Stand up in Madame Leota's room, yeah. And a flashlight right in my face. Sit down. Whoop, okay.
Yep. That's one thing a lot of people don't know, and I haven't talked about it much, is that on the grad nights for the dark rides, like Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean does this, and some of the others, it's not unusual for them to put cast members out in the ride where you don't see them, watching to make sure that people don't do what they're supposed to do.
In the Haunted Mansion costume, for the men is a dark green suit. For the women, it's a dark green dress. They're kind of blending in a dark background there,
I know, at least at Magic Kingdom, they started doing something with, they don't do grad nights in Florida anymore, but they started actually for the not-so-scaries, putting live actors in the rides on like Pirates of the
I've
Caribbean.
seen that.
They serve a double function because yes, they're there to interact with the guests, but it also puts a live security essentially in the middle of the ride, because that was also something that people were starting it's not anywhere near like Gradnight, but
yeah.
I had a couple people tell me that their job on grad nights was to dress in all black and go hide in the rides. Thank you so much, Brian, for joining me for this. It's been a lot of fun, and I couldn't squeeze it all into one video. So I've actually got another video coming for you next week with the rest of this. Yeah, there's even more where we talk about knots and more characters and behind the scenes and all sorts of stuff. So be sure to check that out. Thank you so much to Brian for doing this with me. If you want a link to his channel, we'll get it in the description below. I also want to give a huge shout out to my patrons and supporters because they help make things like this possible. They also get a number of perks that come along with it, and I want to give a huge shout out to my brand new patron, and I hope I say your last name right here, Carl Gudmundson. I hope that's close. Thank you so much for signing on as a patron. If you want to know more about financial support and the perks that come with it, be sure to check the description. Thank you so incredibly much for watching, and God bless. We even get a little bit not so safe. Thank you so much to Brian for doing this with. Yeah. Almost forgot. And now my dog's gonna go crazy. Really, animals? They're all just like, oh, look, he's doing a recording. Let's play. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to know about contact information, fan pages, merchandise, and more, please be sure to check the description below. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to know when I have new ones, well, make sure you hit that subscribe button right up there. And if you want to see another one of my videos, well, I've got a great one for you right here. And a huge thank you to these wonderful people here who support me on Patreon and with YouTube memberships. They get behind the scenes information, special perks, and more. If you'd like to know more about that, well, make sure you check that button right there. Thank you so much.